From North Beach Podcast in partnership with TSN, welcome to Season 2. This is episode 20 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, and it is brought to you by our new Ray and Dregs title sponsor, Infinity.
You betcha, Dregs. We've got a couple vehicles to check out through Infinity. You can look at the QX80. That's the full-size luxury SUV. It's big, it's bold, it's powerful. We're talking about a 400 horsepower, 5.6-liter V8 engine. Power and luxury together under one roof. Or if you like something a little smaller, check out the QX50. It's the compact luxury SUV with class-leading cargo capacity, a 268 horsepower turbo engine, intelligent all-wheel drive, stylish design, and luxury and performances together. It's versatility, it's luxury, and it looks good in any setting.
And right now, you can get the QX50 for $499 monthly for 27 months, or 0.99% with $1,995 down. Or get the QX80 at $599 semi-monthly for 18 months at 1.49% with $0 down. Get to infinity.ca for more and to book your contactless test drive today. Ray, it's time to check out our Canadian Club poll question of the week, right?
Yeah, good one.
And it was a good one. It's a bit clickbait, but that's fine. We need that. That's kind of what we do on occasion here with the Ray and Dregs social media channels. We asked on social media who you were taking in a 7-game playoff series between the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, building off a question that we got on Ask Ray and Dregs Anything last week. What do you think the results were?
No neutrality to it. You're either a Leaf guy or girl or a Oiler guy or girl. I'm going to say slightly ahead Toronto, but right down party lines.
Yeah, and look, the poll is going to continue here, but well into, I think, around 5,000 voters, right? 58% say the Toronto Maple Leafs would win a 7-game series head-to-head with the Oilers, so obviously that leaves 42% in favor of the Oil. So thank you to Canadian Club for our poll question of the week. Now we dive into another episode of Ray and Dregs, brought to you by Infinity. We've got Canadian comedian Gerry Dee coming up on the podcast. This guy is a piece of work. He's a funny dude and multifaceted too, right? Like, you and I have how many jobs? I don't know. I mean, we do lots of things,
Not like him, though.
Not like him. He's all over the place.
All over, and game show host and comic and TV show, and he's a funny dude.
He is a funny dude. Well, we can't play golf in Ontario, which obviously we'll talk to Gerry about, but that's probably why he has time on a Saturday morning to spend a half hour, 40 minutes with the likes of you and I. We'll also check in with Coolbet Chris, the latest from the gambling world, coolbet.co. Check them out. Headlines this week, as always, presented by the Tim Hortons NHL Hockey Challenge. It's in the Tim Hortons app, Ray. We both have it. You pick 3 players nightly for your shot at winning Tim's reward points. And I'm infatuated by this, even though sometimes I forget. I do. I feel like if I wouldn't forget, that I'd be way ahead of you in the game, because shockingly to me, prior to episode 20, I pull out the history in the Tim Hortons app just before I submit tonight's picks, 3 picks, and I see that I've got 100 points, Ray. 100 points. I got a 50 banger the other day. 2 guys scored. 2 of my 3 scored, and that earned me 50 points automatically.
Well, what bothers me to that whole thing is I've got 100 points too. Like it bothers me. I mean, how there's the feature where you can use the scouts pick to help you. Yeah. Maybe I should be using it. How can I be tied with you? Yeah, this is very disappointing.
I know, but it's the spirit of compete. Again, in a healthier world, like in season 1, we were going to have we had the big bet with the contest, right?
Which of course you never paid up on.
Well, exactly. How am I going to do that? I guess
you could send it. Yes, you could.
No, you guys are too picky. It would have to be some like freshwater bass or something like that, or something along the line. I just want to slab a meat. You should see what's going on the smoker this weekend, by the way.
Oh, so that, as I recall, that's a lot of work for you. You go to the butcher, you pick up the meat and throw it on the smoker, right? That's it.
All right. Well, again, check out the Tim Hortons NHL Hockey Challenge. Download the Tim Hortons app, and you can have as much fun as Ray and I have. 100 points, neck and neck. I'm looking forward to episode 21 when we check back. Why don't we do an abbreviated version of headlines? Because we're jammed up this week. We've got lots going on. Not to diminish the storylines around the National Hockey League, but we've got another pod coming out probably in under a week, less than a week, episode 21. So we'll dive back in. The big news, the big story, seemed to generate more of a buzz, was the Wayne Simmonds, Alex Edler fight earlier this week. Clearly, it was retribution from Simmonds and the Toronto Maple Leafs for Alex Edler taking out Zach Hyman, which left Zach Hyman with a knee injury on the sidelines. The good news is he's making progress. He's getting healthier. He's getting better. But old school hockey rears its ugly head when Edler and the Leafs meet for the first time since the hit. And Wayne Simmonds challenges Alex Edler into a fight. Edler accepts the challenge, probably begrudgingly because he's a non-fighter, his first fight. He drops the mitts. They go at it. Simmonds understandably pummels Alex Edler, but it was the reaction after the fact that was most interesting to me. The people who came out and said, the code is garbage. Why does there need to be a code? Why does this need to happen? Why does he need to fight? All of those things, which I appreciate. I guess I'm a little bit more surprised though, Ray, at how emotional the reaction was. Do you think it has as much to do with the fact that it's two Canadian teams, two big centers, Canadian centers, Vancouver versus Toronto, and so much media noise from both sides?
Yes, and also because there is no code.
Yeah.
I've never been handed a copy of the code. I don't know what it is.
And you played a long time, by the way, with some tough dudes. Right?
Yes, you feel the code, like there's a sense of what it is, but there is no code. There is no handbook. And so the people that are arguing about it online and making lots of noise about it, they know even less about it than I do because they weren't there and they've never been there. Now, I understand the emotionality of the response.
Yeah.
Edler's hit was bad and he got suspended. And Toronto's not happy because they lose Zach Hyman and their guy is hurt. So they're looking for retribution. If the league doesn't want that to happen, the only way I can think it can happen is to make the suspension directly involved with the team that incident happens. So if Alex Edler gets 2 games or 4 games, and in a normal season, Edler would have got 2 games. The next 2 games would have been against somebody else. And Toronto doesn't get any satisfaction from that. The Canucks would lose Edler 4 games against Chicago and Pittsburgh or whoever it was. If it's against Toronto, maybe that matters a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I cannot be more clear on this. What I think the code is, what a player today thinks the code is, a player on another team of today thinks the code is all different.
Yeah.
It's all different because there is no written down code of this has to happen.
Do you think you should have skated away? Do you think Alex Edler should have just said, look, I'm not fighting you. I don't need to fight you. I served my 2-game suspension, buzz off.
Yes, but it's easy to say because I'm sitting here on my couch. When you're in that moment, you feel this unwritten code, like you feel it.
I get it.
And so he probably felt, well, first of all, he probably looked up and saw it was Wayne Simmonds and went, oh, for crying out, not him.
Yeah.
Because Simmonds could really do a number on him. And to Simmonds' credit, I think there was a point there where he kind of thought in the fight, I mean, I could be wrong, but I thought in the fight, Simmonds went, that's enough. And he stopped. Like he could have kept going and he didn't. He's clear he's fighting a guy that doesn't fight. I think Edler felt I have to take this fight. I I think it's wrong as I sit here as a long retired player, but in the game, it's different. It just is. I wish I could explain it. I wish I could explain it more clearly, but that's when you're in it, it's different than when you're viewing it from the perch, which is what we do.
Yeah, and we all do it. Media in general, of course. The other thing that was a head scratcher to me was the suggestion that, okay, well, if there needs to be a fight, then it needs to be someone other than Wayne Simmons. It needs to be closer to an Alex Edler, a non-fighter. Well, I mean, who is that? Is it like Ilya Mikheyev? Like, are we going to be happy about just somebody, some random Toronto Maple Leaf fighting Alex Edler, in honor of Zach Hyman? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me either.
It doesn't. And here's another reason why it doesn't, because then people are going to look at Wayne Simmons and say, why didn't you address this?
100%.
And so what's Wayne supposed to do? Go out and say, well, he's not really in my weight class and I can only fight these 4 guys. Like, it doesn't work like that.
No.
Look, part of the problem is, as I said, it's not defined. There's no real code that we can all follow that we all agree on. The tough guys, the real tough guys, they probably have a different code than the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Everybody views it a little different. And so that leads to conflict and confusion.
I get it. All right. Well, those are our headlines. I feel like it was appropriate just to dedicate headlines to that one big story. Is that fair? Are you good with that?
That's what I see this week. Next week, we'll have teams that have fallen out of the playoffs and they'll be tough, but not now.
No, I mean, Jets fans are going to wonder, hey, they lost 6 in a row. Why aren't you talking? We'll talk about the Winnipeg Jets.
Let me sum that up really quickly. They scored 9 goals and they've given up 26. That's why they've lost 6 in a row.
There you go. Well done. 10 seconds or less. I like it. All right, headlines. Thank you to those who help support us through this process. Headlines brought to you by Tim Hortons. Time now for our OK Tire Performance Players of the past week. And not so much challenging because every night there are, just players who have great nights and they're deserving of our attention. I don't know if mine are obvious or not, but as I always do, I want you to go first just to make sure that I'm not duplicating your efforts. So the OK Tire Performance Players of the week.
Yeah, for me, it's easy. It's Sebastian Aho from Carolina.
Nice.
Love Sebastian Aho. What an unbelievable player. First time I saw him was at the World Junior Tournament. We're walking underneath the rink going to get something to eat. And the Finns are walking the other way to their dressing room because they're getting ready to start what was the gold medal game. Mm-hmm. And Sebastian Aho walked by. And I'm with Gord Miller. And Gord says, yeah, that's Aho. And I look and I'm like, that's him? Of course he was a kid, 18 years old, but he couldn't have been thinner, smaller, tinier. I couldn't believe it because of the way he plays. This kid's a fabulous player, a 2nd-round pick in 2015, 35th overall. He's on a 6-game point streak, 11 points. The number 1 team in the NHL, 73 points in 50 games. My hot performer is Sebastian Aho.
Nice. I'm going with youth as well. And, the Montreal Canadiens have struggled so mightily over the last number of games. Nick Suzuki had a big performance versus the Winnipeg Jets. Scored the first goal. The Jets leading 2-0, so he gets the 2-1 goal. He gets the first assist on Yoel Armia's tying goal to make it 3-3. And then he scores the game winner for the Montreal Canadiens, the 4-3 goal. Mm-hmm. So Nick Suzuki is my OK Tire Performance Player of the Week. Don't forget, OK Tire is 330 locally owned OK Tire stores across Canada. That is coast to coast. We've got you covered from top to tires. Check them out at oktire.com. OK Tire, it's going to be okay. Canadian Club Over Beer presents our interview today with Gerry Dee, Ray. And man, both of us received a couple of swanky packages this week from our pals at Canadian Club. Have you tried this yet? I have not. I got mine. Yeah. I got mine. It's not the weekend for me. It's today. Hockey night, Saturday night. Yeah. Good for you. That is the CC and ginger ale. Look, again, at some point we're going to customize the CC and ginger, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. I'm going to go Dreger style with the ginger shavings in mind. You've got to give it some thought. I feel like Cammie could co-author this for you. She's got to come up with some sort of minty twist or something.
Oh yeah. Would mint work in that? Do you think? What do you think?
Mint and ginger might fight each other, right?
I think we got a battle going on in the glass there. I don't think it needs to happen.
Maybe a bit of orange.
Orange, I can see. Yes, that I think I like. I'll give that a go.
Yeah. Gerry Dee, brought to you by our friends at Canadian Club Over Beer. All right, Gerry, thanks for joining the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. I don't mean to piss you off right off the bat here. I'm not trying to poke the bear, but you and I are kindred souls when I think of golf and the fact that we cannot golf here in Ontario. We're not allowed to golf. Let's hope that the restrictions are lifted very, very soon. But our pal Ray Ferraro, I don't know, Ray, how many times have you played golf? I know you probably played, 3 times this week? Is that over?
Yeah, I'm at 11 rounds so far.
Yeah. He's a bad man, Gerry. He's a bad man.
We talked about, part of, I love to golf, but it's my daughter's a real elite golfer. So, anyone with kids in any sport know they're struggling. So a lot of my frustration is for everybody that it just seems kind of ludicrous. We're the only place in the world. But secondly, she's at a pivotal time in her career, these OHL and CHL draft prospects. I mean, it's tough, right? It's just an age where, I'm probably selfishly connected in that way, but I do feel, when things don't make sense, I compared it to, being a teacher. It's like that teacher we had where, every class is outside on a sunny day and you got that teacher that just says no, just because. And you can't do anything about it. And that's what it feels like. It's just like there's no rhyme or reason to it. We can try to make it sound like it's really dangerous all we want. There's precautions. So, yeah, it's frustrating. But, I mean, it's a frustrating time, and there's bigger stakes here. But I do think the outdoor activities in general could probably be loosened.
Well, so I'm playing a lot because we're able to in BC.
Oh, shut up. We know. You told us already.
Yeah, but I was really confused about the Ontario regulations till I saw your bit about when you straightened them out and you gave us the COVID update. I felt like I had a good handle on what the hell was going on. How much thought did you put into that?
You know what's funny? None. I grabbed
perfect.
Well, here's the funny part of that, Ray. I grabbed my phone and I did it. I didn't do any takes. I just talked and I got it. Then I did a second one and that wasn't as easy. I had 7 takes and I was fumbling my words. So I was like, God, just do one. Don't try to, but it was just kind of funny. I mean, look, I wouldn't want to be the premier. I wouldn't want to be the prime minister. I wouldn't want to have to deal with what they deal with. So it's kind of, I had nothing against them personally. Obviously, it's a real tough job that I don't think any of their predecessors have had to deal with. They haven't. So it was just a little fun at how confusing it all is. And I get it. It's got to be confusing for them and their teams. And it's just a tough situation everyone's in. I try to just, I'm a comedian, right? I'm going to poke fun at things.
Oh, is that it? Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I thought it was an official update.
It's not for everybody, right?
Okay. Hey, now here we are. We're on golf. So I'm going to ask you, you played a match last year, a highly publicized match against 2 of our work colleagues, James Duthie and Jeff O'Neill.
It was a collapse.
I got to tell you, those of us at TSN had no faith in Duthie. We knew he would fold at some point. You must have had confidence that was going to happen.
Yeah, I was surprised at O'Neill because O'Neill's a golfer. But what I do know about golf, it's tournaments or pressure are way different. It's just a way different, you play with your buddies, you play for a few beers or a few dollars. But when there's that tournament or outside pressure, look, Jeff's had more pressure in his career than, in you and guys than I have. But the difference in golf and hockey pressure is, when you look at what you guys did, you don't have time to think in hockey. It's kind of, you just do it and you're innate. It's instinctive. In golf, you've got a 40-yard walk it's a static sport. It's not dynamic. That's what's different about it. So lots can get in your head. Of course, I'm in their ear the whole time, and Dubas was kind of on the quieter side. But yeah, we got lucky. O'Neill, O-Dog, as he calls himself. He was gone we shook hands and he was gone. Like he didn't last 2 seconds. There was no check from him. We did a big check presentation because it was for charity. He was so pissed. And
that is typical O-Dog.
That's what I love about a lot of the professional athletes, right? Like they have one level, they have one gear. Like as much as you want to say, it bugs them to lose. So he took that with him, and it was a lot of fun. They were great. It was James and I really doing the chirping. O-Dog went quiet, and Dubas was quiet anyway. So it was the two of us. Dubas had a couple of good zingers, though.
I got to tell you, like from playing like we did, you don't have to stand over the ball. And is 7-point swing thoughts too many? Because that's generally what I get to.
Lot.
Yeah.
Seven's a lot.
I'm telling a buddy of mine, we're playing, and I've made a couple of bogeys in a row. And I said, like, this is the time where I'd take a bad slashing penalty, like an undisciplined slashing penalty.
That's a good point.
So I hit a ball in a bunker a few holes later, and he goes, "You going to take one now?" And I'm like,
it's hard. Yeah, it's a mentally. My daughter, as I said, is going through it. It's a lot on kids because team sports. There's 20 or 15 other people that kind of help you with the loss. Golf and tennis, you're usually these individual sports alone. So the hockey guys love it, as you know. They're all. McKinnon is like addicted with it. I heard in Halifax, he's trying to get better. Bozak.
Yeah, he's
phenomenal. Good. Kessel's phenomenal. I've played with them. Clark MacArthur. I used to have this regular game when they were all Leafs. We'd go me, Kessel, MacArthur, and Bozak. And oh God, the stories from that were hilarious. Because talk about not wanting to lose. Kessel does not like losing at all. So and Bozak would just be in his ear like they were roommates. And then it's just MacArthur, they were just so fun to watch the three of them. They were three buddies, but gave it to each other the whole time. But the hockey guys are usually good at it. And if they're not, like Connor Brown is, I was telling that story when he was on that streak, he would text his dad. He called his dad before the first game of the gold streak, and he just talked golf. And even if I text Connor, I knew Connor from when he was younger, but he's like, yeah, my golf game. I'm really excited. I love, they're just obsessed with trying to get better. And that's the athlete in them. Right. So in his streak, he had this little superstition. His dad told me that, then he started calling me every night before on the way to the rink. We talk golf, and then it became this thing. So it's something that hockey guys connect with a lot, I find.
As a parent, can you help your daughter at all with what she's doing?
I don't know. When you look at Landon, I don't know when you had to stop giving him advice. It's hard, right? Not
as early as he would have liked.
Yeah, 100%. It's, and you're a much better hockey player than I was a golfer. So, you would like my friend. I said to my friend the other day, who had a sniff in the bigs for baseball. And his son just got a scholarship to Michigan. He's there now pitching. And he said, it's no different. Like I played in the major leagues, and my son doesn't want to listen to me. So it's hard. The funny part with my daughter was the day I came home, I shot 92, which was really high for me. And it's the national, which beats you up. And, I was down giving her some, I was working with her swing, and she turned to me, she goes, "Daddy, no offense. You're not my gauge anymore. Like that was it."
No offense.
Yeah. Most of our practice sessions end in an argument, and I walk away because I can't handle it. Cause I'm in the room. She's 13. I'm like, I'd still kill you. Like I would still crush you in golf. So, but I'm not at that stage anymore. It's starting to turn.
Well, I'll tell you, the last time Landon and I raced on the ice, I had just retired. So I'm a year and a half out of retirement. He's 13. And so we raced from goal line to far blue line. I beat him by, I'm telling you, by a hair.
Yeah.
And so I turned around and I said, "You'll never beat me." And he said, "What do you mean?" I go, "It's the last time we'll ever race." That was the last time we raced.
That's a great way to do it.
Because there was no chance.
You know when it's getting, well, I know what I don't know if anyone, I mean, I think of you and you're a humble guy, because most guys are I forget what the number was, but didn't you have 130 goals or something stupid, your stat? There was some stat you had. No.
It was 108. I've heard it before, Jerry.
100, yeah. So 108 goals.
Yeah.
Now that's a record in WHL, correct? It must,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mario's got the record overall. He got 149 goals as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow. So anyway, your son never did that. So my point is, you will always have that on pretty much a lot of people. But I can't even fathom. Well, Mario's Mario, no offense, you're no Mario in the history of hockey.
Not even close. Not even in the history of my own head, my Mario.
But no, I'm not trying to knock you, but wow, like there's two ways to look at that. One, what happened to you after that? Because you didn't turn into Mario. No, but two, jokingly, but that's an amazing stat to me that I think a lot of people, outside the hockey, outside your TSN world, probably don't know about.
Ray, did you know that, Gerry Dee was a pretty good hockey player in his own right?
No,
pretty good hockey player. Played university hockey. Yes. One season, St. FX. Yeah, Correct me if I'm wrong. You made the Axeman as a walk-on.
The Axeman, that's Acadia. Don't say Axeman to an X.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. St. FX. You're right. And had a pretty big debut game, right? Your first games?
Yeah, that's a real funny story. It's funny because I was a walk-on, had no business being there, played high school hockey. That was the highest level. And I started playing intramurals at York University, and I was going to St. FX for my education. I'm going to walk on. So I really did train, and guys didn't train back then, probably at any level. But in the CIS at the time, I was just training every day. So I got to tryouts, and no one was in shape but me. So I made the team. And I remember he put me on the first line, and I remember standing there for the national anthem going, my centerman played 4 years for the London Knights. My right winger, my left winger at the time, he played, tier 2, bunch of records and points. And I'm standing there going, what am I doing here? So anyway, it was against PI. We got 4 points. I got 4 points. We won 4-3. I scored. It was 3-all. It was like a movie to me, but to anyone else, it was nothing. And then I remember sitting on the fourth line in game 12 going, how did I get here so fast? I remember walking around campus going, I can't believe I just did that. And then I never got close to it again. So I had one game. The worst part is I call up the coach to get the tape, which was VHS, and I wanted to watch it. I was kind of like, man, what happened? And he goes, yeah. So he sends me the tape. And I'm all excited. I'm like, well, at least I have this tape for my kids and grandkids, and the basketball coach had taped over it. So I'm watching the basketball practice. I'm like, what the hell is this? This is not my 4-point game. So I never, ever got it. So it just pisses me off, but I don't have it. And my buddies at X, I'm still close with a couple of them. And, these are one guy played in the AHL after, and they chirp me all the time. They're like, you had one game, man. But it was, for me, it was a highlight. That was it. We just talked about a guy scoring 108 goals in the WHL.
Oh, no, that's what reminded me.
We're talking about my 4-point night with, 2 of the assists. I think I had to tap the ref and go, I got that, right? I was the first assist on that.
That's awesome. We all did that. Hey, I touched that on the way. You bet I did.
Yeah. I remember there's one funny story. We were playing Acadia, and I was fourth line. I never got ice. Acadia, they had Drake Batherson's father was Norm Batherson, and he was, again, I'm not at your level, Ray, but he was a phenomenal hockey player. Went on and played after that. They had this team. They won 12-1 in the final against U of T. That's how good they were. So. Wow. They were beating teams out east. 6-0, 12-0, 7-1, 9-1. And I got a goal, but it wasn't my goal. It was we had this guy, Peter Lisi, who was a really good player. And I said, Peter, I don't think I touched that. And the ref gave it to me, and he goes, just take it. Just keep it. I'm like, you know what? I think I will. I've got no points in 9 games. I'm just going to keep it. So I really think one of the goals wasn't even mine, to be honest.
Luc Robitaille said video review robbed him of 5 goals a year, because you could always say there's a puck mark on my stick. It had to hit me for sure.
That's great. Yeah. And you're probably playing for bonuses at that level too, right? Like,
at that time, bonuses were a big deal. Like now the guys don't have them.
Yeah.
And so there was, I touched that. Are you sure? Yeah, I did. And then guys would be like, yeah, he needs a bonus. And
yeah. Well, the funniest story I heard about that recently was these guys are playing in Croatia right now, right? Did you ever hear this? This is a true story. And you can bet on their games. So these guys are making nothing. So they're going in, right? And this is from a guy that played there. This is a valid story. They're going in to the betting shops in Croatia or wherever. And they're betting they'll score the first goal. So when they get on the ice, they're going to the opposing team guys at center. Listen, can I just get the first goal? And I'll, like there's all these deals and wheels because like, they're just like, yeah, you take it. Listen, can I have that goal? Because I had a bet on myself scoring that goal tonight. Yeah, go. Yeah, that's yours, man. Go ahead. I don't know how true it is, but that's a story I got.
I like it. Give them a little actions.
Yeah, sure. Go bet on myself. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we should mention you're wearing the PWHPA hoodie.
Yeah.
You're a big supporter. Good for you.
Yeah, it's kind of came from, I got, I did an event with Jana Hefford years ago, and I befriended Jana, and obviously Jana Hall of Famer and well-deserved. And, and then and then you have daughters, and I didn't think much of anything, but I went and did a sort of little stint. Healy and I were on the bench for this All-Star game. At the time was the CWA.
Let me interrupt you. There's no way you made as much noise as Healy. No chance.
Healy and my brother played together at Western Michigan. That's how I knew Healy. So I knew Healy prior. And I'll tell you, I love Heels. But Healy, I went to one game in my brother's career at Joe Louis Arena. It was the CCHA semifinals. It was Michigan State they had this goal. Oh, God. Played in the NHL for years. Played for Winnipeg. Anyway, they had this phenomenal goalie. Gino Cavallini was on Bowling Green. Craig Simpson was involved with probably Michigan State at the time.
Yeah,
So I go to one game, and Healy stopped 65 shots, and that's not exaggerated. And they beat Bowling Green in double overtime, and I think Bowling Green went on to win it. Anyway, but I always remember that about Healy. He goes, yeah, I think the scouts came to watch the other goalie, and I don't know. He would know the story. I'm butchering the story. But anyway, Healy and I are on the bench, and I'm literally standing in the dressing room after, like going, like, this is like Marie-Philippe Poulin, like the best female player in the world. Jana had retired, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right that they're crowded into a room that in a small dungy arena, they're carrying their own equipment. And then I thought, like, imagine being a girl like my daughter whose dream, plays hockey. And then you're like, what's the end game here? Well, the end game, I started asking questions was, you can make $7,000 a year if you're the best player in the world. So I think at the time, someone like Marie-Philippe Poulin or any of those Spooner, any of those girls were making maybe $7,000 a year. Right. So that is like, an East Coast League player would maybe make more than the whole team's salary. Mm-hmm. And I thought, it was like, yeah, maybe I can lend my voice to this. It also felt very wrong. And, my daughter came up to me one day with the LPGA prize money and the PGA prize money and said, Dad, why is this so different? So, you change, right? You kind of think differently. We probably should have thought this way more as guys a long time ago, but at least we're starting the conversation. So I'm trying to, whatever, if it helps, it helps. And you guys are all doing the same. We're all trying to elevate the women's sports world.
And it should, and it will. The best part about it is, my wife was involved, Cammie, 20 plus years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And there was no social media. So their pleas for just a little support got dusted aside and nobody could pick it up. Now there's a momentum that will not be stopped. Like it's taking longer maybe than everybody would like, but it's not going to stop. And that's the best part.
It is the best part, but you're right. The fact that it didn't happen when Cammie was playing and Cassie and any of those girls, there was the big argument I get if I tweet something, because you still get these guys going, well, no one's watching. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
Who's watching. And there was a clip posted the other day. The NCAA women's volleyball game got more views on the network than the Cubs Reds game. So that excuse, I just don't think should exist anymore. And my take is two things, and it's an interesting conversation I've never had. Is gambling what changes the men's? I don't know. Let's not hide the fact that the sports gambling industry is massive. Yeah. And I mean, am I watching NFL football Sunday if I don't have a fantasy pool? I don't know if I am.
Not as closely.
I don't know how that plays into it. It shouldn't. But there's got to be something about that, the betting gambling industry, that we watch men's so much more. There's got to be. And I think you got to tell the stories. I knew nothing about Cammie. I mean, I know everything about Sid Crosby. I know he used to shoot pucks on a dryer. I think we need to tell their stories off the ice. And it's funny because I said to Jana at that game, I said, and they're doing it now. I don't think it's because of me, but I'm glad they're doing it. I said, I think the girls, I guess women, they should come out and not have their helmets on because of a cage. We got to get to know faces. Them. So they're doing it now. If you watch when they come out for the warm up, these girls on these teams are coming out and you're getting to see the faces. These young girls and boys can see, that's what Natalie Spooner looks like.
Right.
And that's something that I think is a small thing that will help. Mm-hmm. The cages, the optics of cages. I had this conversation too. The cages make it look like minor midget hockey. It just does. But Jana made a great point. She goes, well, one, we don't have dental plans as a professional league. I have a good point. And I don't think women want to be walking around with missing teeth and scratched up, scarred faces. So there's a lot of value to that too. But there's just, that was just my mind sort of thinking. Yeah. I just think we got to get to know them better.
There's no question that is the key to any interest, is to hook people into the stories of the players that are on their TVs. Now, one of the most bare performances anyone can make, and you did it and do it, is to be a stand-up comic. I'm fascinated by the courage it takes to stand out there and go, yeah, it's me. There's no props. There's no nothing. Yeah. You're not the old comic Gallagher with a watermelon smashing it all over the place. How terrifying is it to go out there to perform your set?
Well, there's two parts to that. Now, not terrifying because I'm immune to, but at the beginning, like the first night, like I'm writing another book right now, and I shouldn't probably write books. I'm probably not smart enough, but I'm writing another book about, and one of the things I'm working on now is that chapter on my first time. I can't even explain how terrifying it is. And it's not a terrifying, like a doctor performing open heart surgery. It's not terrifying like a breakaway, on Dominic Hasek to win the gold medal. It's a different terrifying that I can't explain because there's a huge embarrassment factor that is involved. And I can't describe why it was the toughest thing I ever did. So, and then, as you said, man, there was years of, like, I've been on stage where I did a gig once. I got flown. I just did Last Comic Standing and I was on top of the world. My feet jumped so much. So this agent signed me in LA and I get this first gig. And it's like money I've never heard. I was a teacher and I'm getting this. He goes, this is the gig. I'm like, that's what it pays, like thousands of dollars, like nothing more, people thinking it's crazy, but I'm doing gigs for $150 to that point. So they fly me to the Bahamas. I'm like, oh my God, like this is unbelievable. So I get to the Bahamas this resort, and it's an island, and I'm there for one night, and it's a marlin fishing tournament. Now, I've never seen a boat like this was 50 yachts lined up in the harbor. These were 30, $40 million boats, and there was 50 to 100 of them. And the crowd was a bunch of old men, right, and these young nieces. I'm like, nieces? Like, I'm so naive. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean nieces? It's their niece. Why are they holding hands with their niece? Why is their niece dressed like that? Like, so it's the worst crowd. I tell you, I've got, so they're fishing all day. Marlin, they're fishing all day. They're hammered. They fish from 6 a.m. It's 9 o'clock at night. They are wasted, and they don't want to be with me. They want to be with their nieces, right? I mean, a lot of us are uncles. We know the importance of our nieces. So they all just start leaving slowly and yelling at me. And I got to do 45 minutes. And in my mind, I'm like, do the 45 minutes or you won't get paid. Do the 45 minutes. But I am literally dripping with sweat of the feeling of bombing. And I'm at 7 minutes. I'm into 7 minutes. So I'm like, I just start ripping them. I'm like, I got nowhere to go here. I'm just start ripping these guys. So it just became me ripping them and chirping them and them getting angry. And then I'm stuck on the island. I'm walking around and they're all there and they're all hammered. So those nights when you are embarrassed and dripping with sweat and you got to do your time. Yeah, you're right. There's no worse feeling. But on the other side of the coin, when it goes well, and it's hard to describe this to people, the euphoria you get that you did that and made 1,000 or 500 or 70 people like laugh. And not to get too deep, but I get a lot of emails and comments you get from people that you realize the importance of laughter, that for that moment, for that hour with my voice, I took those people away from anyone that lost a loved one, anyone that was going through anything. And that's a powerful feeling that you have. So that's the pride in it, I think, when you can do that. And you get emails from people saying, my husband was sick in the hospital and he got through it watching your show or your stand-up. And that's when it puts a real big smile on your face. Yeah. But the highs are so high, the lows are so low. You get thick skin for sure.
It's awesome. Gerry, we'll let you go with this. Where are you with Family Feud Canada? Are you taping? Is the show? Yeah,
we're taping. We're, I'm trying to get I've been pushing for this TSN versus Sportsnet. I mean, I'm a fans of both of you guys and pushing for this celebrity, battle, but we'll see. But we're filming in the fall again, season 3, and it's just a lot of fun. It's, one of the things you learn, and you know this more than anyone, Ray, is the chirping that goes on in a hockey dressing room when the coaches are out. And that's, my son has no interest in hockey, and so I have no interest in him. But I say that jokingly, but I'm also very angry. But he's only 8, but we tried it. He hates it. But that's what I'm trying to explain to him, that, man, you have no idea. The best part of hockey, which isn't in a lot of sports, is the room where there's no coaches. Baseball, you kind of show up, you go to your dugout, parents are behind the thing. And that's where the chirping for me always started. Cause you get it pretty bad in hockey. As you know, these guys find one thing on you, one piece of hair out of line or too much hair on your arms. It's whatever, you're attacked and you got to defend yourself. So Family Feud is a lot of taking that sort of chirp ability, but trying to keep it kind. I just love doing it. The families, they love it. They're just having a blast. So we're back for another season. We filmed that in the fall, and I could probably stay on this podcast for about 17 weeks right now because I got nothing going on. So
what was your favorite game show growing up? I was a game show guy. I loved Match Game with Gene Rayburn.
Yeah. Match Game was good.
Yeah.
I remember watching. The creepy thing about Feud was when you watch Richard Dawson. When I got the job, I started watching the old guys do it, and that's hard to watch now when you see Richard Dawson kissing a 23-year-old on the lips right next to her 57-year-old father. I'd be like, what's going on here, Rich? What's going on here, Dick? But it's a bit, family Price is Right. I remember a lot, because for me, Family Feud and Price is Right, I wanted to be on it. I'm like, how do we get on it? And that's what's exciting about Feud is you can get on it. But I think Price is Right and Family Feud were the two that I would watch the most, that you could play along. But Match Game was great. It wasn't one I got to watch a lot of. I do remember it though.
Newlywed Game.
I watched that a lot. I watched that a lot. And the Dating Game.
Oh yeah, of course.
The Dating Game. Then you found out one of the guys was a murderer. See that episode? That's weird.
That's unfortunate.
A lot of famous people on the Dating Game that were that became Chrissy from Cheers started on the Dating Game. There's a lot of famous actors and actors that started on the Dating Game if you go back. But yeah, there was a lot actually when you think about it. There's probably more $25,000 Pyramid.
Oh,
remember that? One word. And
but here's the one thing: there was only like 4 hosts for 56 game shows. Dick Clark, Wink Martindale.
He cleaned up.
Yeah.
It was like,
that's true. It was
best name ever, Wink Martindale. You should change the Gerry Dee thing to something like Wink.
Wink D. How about Dinky D? Dinky D.
It's all coming together.
D's not even my last name. I changed that because I was teaching, and I'm like, I don't want anyone to know I'm trying this. Like this, And then the worst part. The funniest part of teaching and stand-up was when the kids would show up to your show and no one knew. And you're like, these grade 12s show up. You're like, oh, this is
not right.
The worst part of that was when I was 26, I was teaching and I was working at the Keg still. You're trying to make as much money as you can. I worked at the Keg from 18 to 27 and my students would come in with their family and I'd serve them. I'm like, 22 hours ago, I was giving you detention. Now you're bossing me around. It's like, that was probably one of the more embarrassing moments I ever had, was having to serve this family. So it's funny because the next time it happened with another family, I would traded the table off, but I would back into my section. So I'm backing into my section to avoid them, which got hard after a while. But there's a lot of embarrassing moments when you're a stand-up and a teacher, I guess.
You know what, Gerry, we could go on and on here. We've taken enough of your time on a weekend, even though, it's Saturday when we're recording the Ray and Darren podcast Saturday morning.
And you guys got nothing going on either, let's be honest. And
nothing.
The other thing is we cut this up, right? So just take the best parts. I don't know.
No, we don't really edit.
Oh, no, you go start to finish. We're going to not even do the rest of the podcast.
This got long.
We're just going to read our sponsors and introduce you, and that'll be the podcast, episode 20.
I'm okay. I love the Gemini or the Canadian Screen Award you're sporting there, Ray. That's a little subtlety there I like.
Well, I have that. Drake's has got Canadian Club behind him. We like that too. Yeah.
Which is that one?
Right there.
I did. I thought of a
43-year-old bottle, Gerry. It's 43. Supremely aged, just like me.
Where is it? Well, that I recognize. That's a Gemini down there.
Oh yeah, down here. Yeah. That's the old school one, though.
I wanted to do one of these once, and I'll never do it now. But I wanted just like your setup right there, Darren.
Okay.
But just behind it was just all like porn books and porn videos and just like not even mention it, or religious stuff. Just Jesus loves you, love yourself.
Oh, geez.
Just have these people going, what the hell? Is that
okay? So there's a quick story to be told. So I've got Dothy's Beauties book over right behind me, right?
Yeah, I see it. Well, you're blocking it. But I see it now. There it is.
Yeah. I get dozens of writers now contact me. They'll DM me or they'll contact me on Instagram who want that piece of real estate. They'll send me a book and then they bug me. They're relentless. They're like, you're not showing my book. You got to put my book up there. So you're onto something.
Yeah, that's a good. Well, no, that's just a comedian thinking of silly things. But I always see these books behind. Some people overdo it, right? Like you never read that. You never
No.
read that book.
Right.
You're a
I
liar.
didn't.
No, not you. I'm saying they have these books
Oh.
behind them. I'm like, you didn't read that.
Well, it's true on both fronts.
The psychology of hockey. There's no psychology.
Get it, shoot it down there, go try and shoot it in their net. Start again. There's the
There
game.
you go. Yeah, there you go. No, it's
All
great
right,
to see you
Gerry.
guys, and hopefully we'll see you all. How's
You bet.
Landon doing, Ray? How's how's that going?
He's just back. He's just back home. Was in Germany this year again, his second year. He gets out of quarantine on Sunday, so I haven't seen him for 2 weeks. So
I've never met
looking
him.
forward to seeing him.
Yeah, I bet you are. I never met him, but we connected a few times. So give him my best.
He's a good kid.
I will for sure. Thank
right,
you very
Gerry.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your time, Gerry.
Yeah, anytime,
take
guys.
care,
Stay
buddy.
safe. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Be well.
All right. All right, Ray, time to raise a glass in honor of our guest here in episode 20, Gerry Dee. And, as is the case with most comedians, we spent 35 minutes, almost 40 minutes, in fact, with Gerry on the podcast. And you could spend hours with him, right? Imagine playing golf with him. How would you be with Gerry, with the constant nattering, the funny stuff? Would he knock you off your game? Would you struggle to concentrate?
I wonder how he would do with the constant nattering.
Ooh, that was part of your game, wasn't it, Ray?
Always is. Although I do not deal with random noise on the course very well.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know why. It shouldn't bother me. I mean, I'm not good enough that it should bother me, but I do think when they're in a match like with James and O, my vision is that Gerry was like a gnat and he just wouldn't go away.
So as you're talking about the random noise, so I do this with my buddies and they finally picked up on it, right? So normally I'm the guy that hits first off the tee, just because I'm the best golfer in the group. That's not saying a whole lot, but so on the rare occasion where I don't have honors, whoever hits first, just as they're in their backswing, I'll rip the Velcro on my glove. And
that's brutal.
It is brutal. But if that happened to you, so if somebody did that in your backswing, you'd be sour because you would notice it. Like that's
Yes.
one of those noises that would get to you. Like I did it 10 times last season, Ray, and nobody figured it out. They never picked up on it. So that tells you the quality of the people that I play golf with, or lack thereof.
I don't think I would say anything, but you'd notice that I knew.
Oh, you'd know.
Like that would be a walk off the tee box to my bag. There's no conversation there. You would know.
See, Gerry would get to me because he's a good golfer.
Right.
But lighthearted, he's out there, he's having fun. And if I'm not playing well, I'm not having as much fun. And that would probably get to me, how he's just busting it up the middle, just loving life. And here I am like grinding it out like I'm working in a salt mine. So that would get to me.
So then that vision connects pretty good with shaking hands and leaving the course.
Gone.
Yeah. By that point, he had worked his way into O's ear so far that O couldn't get away fast enough.
No kidding. Thanks, Gerry, for joining us. Ray and Dreg, Season 2, Episode 20, presented by our friends at Infinity, continues. All right, time for a weekly segment with Chris Abbott. Cool bit, Chris, as we look forward here. I'm wondering if we should start our gambling conversation here on the odds of Ray Ferraro winning his battle with the sunlight and everything that is just hammering him as we record this podcast, Chris.
Sorry, Chris, before I get to you, there are times where Dreg's just a colossal pain in the ass. This is one of them. Because Darren's such a finicky guy, we have to tape this at a time that fits Darren's day. And however, I've talked to the people that are in charge of the sun, and it comes up right there. And so short of me turning the house at a 45-degree angle, this is what I get. So
it's not bad. It's not bad. I mean,
good for you. Good to see you, Chris. How are you?
It's good to see you too, Ray. Listen, I completely understand it. Our place in Toronto, south facing, and mornings and afternoons, it's just there's no escaping it. So I totally understand.
There's nowhere to go. And the only thing Drake's is focused on two things. One, that I don't have a desk in this office. And two, that this sun is killing me for the next 20 minutes.
I'm worried about you, to be fair. I'm worried about your retinas. It looks like that sun is ripping through your eyes right now.
That better to you?
That's better. No, that's no good either.
Now my back's going to kill me in 20 minutes. Let's get on to Chris and the odds. Chris, never mind as Drake's babbles on here. Teams are starting to lock in their playoff spots. As they lock in, are the odds changing for Stanley Cup odds, performance odds, as teams start to lock their way in?
Yeah, I mean, as teams lock their positions in, I find the odds are kind of settling in as well. We've got Colorado still 4-1 favorite to win the Stanley Cup. Those odds are getting pretty short right now. So anyone who had them earlier in the year at 6, 7, 8-1 are probably pretty happy with those tickets. And then, you've got Tampa, Toronto, Vegas, all the teams that you expect right around there. But we're seeing some teams, I think, Ray, that are coming down the stretch with some pretty impressive performances with some pretty good odds. Like you've got the Caps at 15-1. The Bruins, you can never count them out at 10-1. And then a little further down, if you want to get frisky, it's going to be tough to come out of the division, but the Florida Panthers at 27-1. So there's still some value to be had out there. The public favorites are certainly settling in at the top, but I think there's value to be had. I think we're in for a really exciting Stanley Cup playoffs.
Where's Carolina at?
Carolina's at 9-1, and they're a team that I've liked all year. They've been around 13, 15-1 most of the season. So I think the betting markets are finally catching up to just how good this team is. And, they're like the Islanders to me, right? They play playoff hockey all year long. And there's something to be said for that when you get into the postseason.
Is there any way, there's so much made in the National Football League, obviously coming out of the draft, going into the draft. Is there any way to monetize the Aaron Rodgers watch now, right? I mean, he's made it abundantly clear that he's not going back to Green Bay. So, I mean, are there odds on where he's going to land, that sort of thing?
I think you'll see odds. We don't have him right now, like where he'll take his next snap, but they will be up this week. One of the craziest things we saw, and it's one of the biggest shifts I've seen in a betting market ever. So when that tweet came out, whatever it was, Thursday before the draft, the Denver Broncos were 80-1 to win the Super Bowl. A single tweet, not even a transaction, moved the Denver Broncos to 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. It moved them to 8-1 from 35-1 to win the AFC. They're ahead of the Browns, Dolphins, and Patriots right now. So the Broncos value, is long gone. Some people did get in on it, but just one tweet, guys, not even a transaction.
All right, what are we looking for this week, Chris?
That's awesome.
So much going on. Obviously, golf continues to motor on with their schedule. People love that. Baseball's in full swing. The Jays are getting their roster healthy. Also, and I'm going to bring this up, the World Women's Curling Championships are underway in Calgary. Carrie Anderson's rink representing Canada. So a lot of the teams that were at the Grand Slams the last couple of weeks are there. So that's something else that people are paying attention to. And then a couple of big UFC cards coming up. So we're right in the thick of things as we come down the stretch for playoffs in the NHL and NBA. Major League Baseball in full swing. The European soccer leagues are getting ready to hit their playoffs and championships. So it's a very exciting time. Hard to keep up with it all.
No kidding. So much going on. He's Chris Abbott. Check him out. All the action at coolbet.co.
Thanks so much, guys.
Ask Ray and Driggs anything. Each week we invite you to fire off your random questions to us on Twitter or Instagram at Ray and Driggs, or the website rayandriggs.com. Presented by our friends at endy.ca. We're certainly loving our Endy mattresses. We both referred them to a whole bunch of family and friends. And everybody is loving Endy. Plus, they've now got amazing pillows. They've got bedding. I just was introduced to the weighted blanket, Ray. You put me onto this a while ago. I'm loving that. And I'm now thinking about all the other opportunities that I'm going to have to throw at Endy, because I'm in the process of purchasing a they call them cabins out west. In the East, we call them cottages in Ontario, right? But I'm going back to my roots, back to the prairies. So just figuring out some details there. But then, it's not just about buying the cabin / cottage. Now you've got to furnish it, right, Ray? You've got to get the beds, you've got to get the mattresses, all of that. So,
well, you got to make sure Tiny's got a place to sleep there too.
Tiny loves her Endy. Absolutely loves it. You can use code RAY75 to get $75 off your purchase of a mattress. It's fast and free shipping, 100-night risk-free trial, and money-back guarantee. Folks, that's why Endy is the best mattress in Canada. Check them out at endy.ca. From Luke, Ray, do you think Adam Fox would be getting more consideration for the Norris Trophy if it was not just his second season? Luke says, I feel like Dougie Hamilton, Morgan Riley, Shea Weber were doing what Fox is doing, or if they were, there'd be nonstop talk about them winning the Norris. But I was going to bring this up earlier in headlines, but I feel like Adam Fox has to be a prime Norris Trophy contender right now, is he not? He has to be.
I don't know why he wouldn't be. I mean, he's certainly going to be on my ballot. I do think there's some truth to Luke's point, though, that there is a momentum to players winning a trophy because it shouldn't matter because it's just about this season, but there needs to be a little awareness, and it's hard for everybody to be aware of every player because everybody's criteria is a little different. But in my mind, Adam Fox is having a Norris caliber season.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's the Norris winner, but I do believe he will get plenty of consideration.
Who are you thinking? Victor Hedman, John Carlson?
Yep. You know who doesn't have enough games, but Roman Yossi's impact. I know he won last year, but
for sure.
Nashville's game when he was out of the lineup as opposed to when he's in it, their winning percentage, their numbers change completely.
Through the roof.
Oh, unbelievable when Yossi is in the game.
All right, Evan, this is right in your wheelhouse, Ray. What is considered a good face-off winning percentage for a player? So he's saying if you're winning 55% of your face-offs, is that considered great or just good? And then, by the way, he says, look, after listening to the last episode, I played Tim's Hockey Challenge and went 3 for 3. So I asked that earlier, and now I'm not sure that this is true. We're going to have to verify.
I want a screenshot, and I want to see, because in that case, Evan passed us both, and he's played once.
150 points for Evan. Boom.
Yeah. Evan, just we want the screenshot. 55% would be awesome.
Yeah.
It would be a terrific face-off percentage. You know what's crazy about that? So somebody that's no good at face-offs would be below 50%. So let's assume I'm 55%, you're 48%, 7% difference. That's 7 out of 100 draws.
Yeah.
Like, do we overvalue the total number as opposed to target face-offs? Which ones are most important?
Yeah.
Because I think there is a difference.
I think you're right. All right. Veli in Finland, and we're somewhat paraphrasing here, but he says the average game sees each team get about 30 shots on goal, which is probably pretty close. Is there a shot on goal number that coaches expect their teams to get? Is 30 good, or is that too low? And what would be the philosophy? Just more shots on net equals more scoring chances? When
I played, we always targeted 30. You'd like to get 10 a period. I think you've seen there was a time not very long ago, teams were high volume shooting. They felt that was the best way to defend, that enough shots on net would mean more chaos. Maybe you can manufacture goals out of that chaos. Yet now there's a switch to those shots, those wasted shots from the wing or from way deep at the blue line. Teams aren't taking them. They'd rather retain possession and work it around. So that lowers the number of shots. I can't tell you what the best number is, but I think most teams view quality over quantity these days.
Nice. I like that question. Thanks to Veli in Finland. Thank you, Luke. And thank you, Evan. We need that screen grab. We want to see the 3 for 3 in the Tim Hortons NHL Challenge. Earlier in the pod, and we're going to wrap up here, Ray, because I always like to know what you've got going for the next number of days before our next episode. I guess it was Thursday. I'm out walking. I had Fritz in the backyard. Fritz is 15, he's 14 and change. So I have to carry him down the stairs. It's pitch black out in the backyard. Okay.
Right.
It's like 9 p.m., 9:15, something like that. There is a blood curdling scream in my backyard. We've got forest right behind us, forest right to the north of us, and then a house on the other side to the south. Like the highest pitch scream and loud right behind the fence. And it startled me. It's like, what was that? And Tiny was out there as well, and she's just going ballistic, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I can't see anything. There's nothing I'm going to do about it. Like, what do I do? Do I call the cops? Like, what do I do? It sounds like a woman. Like it was a terrifying scream. So I don't. I come back into the house, jumping in bed. I hear the same scream like about 15 minutes later. So the next morning, Friday morning, I get up and I literally simply Googled animals that scream. And comes back, red fox sounds like a woman screaming. And so we should have the sound effect. We don't. But when later today, if you've got 30 seconds, just Google that and hit play on it. It was terrifying. So it turns out it's this little red fox that just lets out this hellacious screech.
And you'd never heard that before then?
Never heard that before.
That would be rattling.
Very rattling. And so I'm playing it for Holly Friday morning on the laptop, and Tiny is going bananas in the house. Like she's like trying to get to the laptop because she's just heard this, and she's like, now I know what it is. Oh. Anyway, that was the excitement of my week. What's your week looking like?
Get through the weekend. Got a few things going on. Not much, of course, because really, although we're more open than Ontario, there's not a lot to do. Busy week next week. I had 4 games this week. I got 3 games next week. It's hard to believe, Dregs. The season is coming to an end.
I know.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. We are at the end.
I know.
So yeah, I'll be busy doing games this week. Knock off another podcast, I think later in the week, right?
Yeah, I think we'll aim for Thursday, Friday, somewhere around there.
Perfect.
Episode 21. I think it's going to be a beauty. Thanks, Ray.
Yep, you bet. Everybody have a good week. Be safe, be well, and thanks for listening.
Hold on, don't leave yet. We've got to give a huge shout out to our partners, and you're such a big part of this. Everybody looks forward to the end of the podcast on a weekly basis. All of our fine partners make this podcast possible. Our new title sponsor, Infinity. Visit infinity.ca and you can book your contactless test drive. Coolbet.co, the free-to-play sports and casino games website. By our friends at Canadian Club. By OK Tire, it's going to be okay. OKTire.com. By Yamaha. Yamaha revs your heart. Ray, Yamaha
revs your heart.
By Endy.ca. Remember, use code RAY75 and you're going to save $75 on a mattress. By Tim Hortons and their NHL Challenge game in the Tim Hortons app. Download today. And by Tommy Gunn's original barbershop. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to our guest in episode 20, Gerry Dee. And as Ray is promoted, look forward to episode 21 later this week.